Steve, speaking about the entire project, what is, in your view, the likelihood that the whole thing will be built? And then the second question is, are there any incentives for the developer to complete the project, or are there any disincentives for him not to?
Right. There's been a lot of discussion and a lot of comments about the build-out of the project, and I suspect everyone is making projections and assuming certain events take place in the general economy. We've looked at this. In fact, we retained the services of KPMG to take a look and see if whether or not the residential piece of the project, which is a very substantial piece, could be absorbed in the market in the 10-year time frame that we're looking at. And they came back and they concluded that that was not an unreasonable assumption and that, in fact, this could happen. I mean, what folks are counting on is that the markets, including the residential markets, are cyclical. So we are expecting that the markets will improve. I think, in fact, they've improved over the last couple months. Obviously, the past year has been a very difficult year, but there's certainly the assumption that the markets will improve. And the other piece, which I think is very important, a couple of issues that are very important, is number one, the demographics, I think, are favorable. Brooklyn has a population that's growing. There's going to be a demand for housing in the coming years. That seems pretty self-evident. The other piece is that a substantial amount of the housing is affordable housing. And certainly there will always be a need for affordable housing, and we don't think that it will be difficult filling the affordable housing units for the project.
Could I ask our counsel to address some of the legal issues and status of the challenges on the eminent domain issues that were raised today?
As we've discussed previously, we've prevailed in the previous litigation. We have a scheduled argument before the New York State Court of Appeals in October on the balance of the issues challenging the project. I think it is realistic to expect that after today that there will be more challenges. Some of the opponents who spoke here today indicated as such, and we fully expect that, but we believe that we are, again, on very sound footing and that we will prevail.
I have a question on this. This is follow-up from something that one of the speakers said today, and I guess the substance of what was said was that the way we conducted the public comment period was that when the public had the ability to comment, there was not sufficient information in the public domain for them to adequately make a comment, and that after the comment period closed, I think this is what was said, then all the public information was disseminated. So, I mean, that's a summary of what I heard anyway. So can somebody just, comment on that?
Sure. What we put out to the public was a very detailed, modified general project plan, which really lays out the project in significant detail. We also talked about, in our legal notice for the public hearing, we described the various dispositions that we envisioned, the leases and sale of properties that we envisioned under the project. That was the purpose of the public hearing. There was also talk about how we summarize some of these comments, and I made, in my presentation, a real thumbnail summary of what the comments were, both pro and con. But what we've done is we've provided the directors in its purest form all comments. So the directors have the benefit of reading all the comments without any input from staff. What we've also done, because the comments are quite voluminous, is we provided the directors with a 36-page analysis of, a summary, I should say, of the comments and our responses to the comments. And those comments tended to focus on the comments from people that were opposed to the project and what our responses were. So we spent an awful lot of time dealing with the comments. We've taken the comments very seriously, and we've tried to provide the comments to the directors in a number of formats for both their convenience and for their ease, and also so that they have the opportunity to look at all comments.
So you would say that criticism is invalid. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think we went out there with a project plan that's very detailed, and the public had an opportunity to comment. You can't have an endless process. At some point, you have to take those comments, present them to the directors, and then ask the directors to make a decision.
Is
there's no renderings of the project, that's the point of that speaker.
Very good.
About a turn, I understand, but there's no renderings. That's what they meant. The public didn't see what the project looks like. It's absurd.
Let me just point out that there are design guidelines that the project is being built in compliance with, and it is our obligation to ensure that they are built in compliance with the design guidelines, and we are not obligated as a board or a body to opine on the absolute, full extent of the design. We are just required to make sure it's in compliance with the design guidelines.
After it's built.
Can I interject as well? I mean, I think there's a really interesting example. There was in relation to the two community information sessions. No, I think it's very important
Yeah, I know
because,
you think it's important, but...
well, for example, the loading dock, Rachel Schatz at the community information session was asked to describe the changes to the loading dock, and she said the number of berths was reduced from 8 to 7. The architects, after the community response... Well, I apologize for this, but there's not an opportunity here. We don't feel like we're being given the opportunity for a proper review.
You'll take it.
And so I will. The architects after the closing of the community response period stated that in fact the loading docks have been condensed to the smallest area possible, have had an elevator added and a circular disc. So that slows down the schedule for deliveries. That may not be a very significant thing to this board, but it is significant for those people who live near the project.
Are there any other
Mr.
questions?
Chairman, if I may, I'm not going, my comment has nothing to do with trying to make an input, only to say that if people are going to be allowed to disrespect the wishes of this board, then I think we're going to open Pandora's box. A whole lot of us would want to comment. So I would simply rise to urge the board to adhere to what it set forth in its initial statement. No public comment, period.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else on the board who has a question or a comment? All right.
I would like to comment and thank all of the individuals who spoke today. I've been on a number of boards. I have never seen the level of passion and commitment on both sides in the articulate format in which it was presented. So I appreciate those who have been involved over the years, who have submitted written comments. I assure you that members of the board take this extremely seriously and have reviewed not only the analysis provided by our staff, but the various input from all community groups and stakeholders. I thank you for that, and just to confirm the seriousness in which we take our responsibilities. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then I think we're at the stage where I would entertain a motion for approval. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I note the one abstention from Mr. Corbett. Thank you very much. The motion carries. Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute